The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
They gave me my theme music!
This is a Planet Fanatics production.
Alright, you guys should be able to hear me now. I apologize. We good? Alright, loud and clear. Bet. So, as I was saying, good evening, and what's going on, fellow fanatics? I hope everybody is having a good evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the neck of the woods. I hope that your day so far is going great. As I said yesterday, at the beginning of yesterday's stream, I did want to come on today and say a few things, and there's a couple things I want to talk to you guys about, and some things I want to share with you guys that I hadn't shared before. And maybe, again, I don't know who all has seen this. I have not seen... This is a video I've talked about quite a bit before. I don't know who all has seen this. This is a video that I've had for a while, and I've talked about. I haven't seen any other... recasters on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere else sharing this video, but that doesn't mean that anybody has not. I just have not seen it, but I did want to share it with you guys as well. And there's a couple other things I want to talk to you guys about, a couple of other things I want to share with you guys. We are going to discuss the current debate going on Twitter between what's going on, the hashtag recast Balin Skull and then the hashtag recast T'Challa, and what is the difference between the two. We're also going to discuss T'Challa's absence, which we've kind of touched on a little bit in our regular streams, but again, wanted to dive in a little deeper today, touch on the absence of T'Challa in the Black Panther video game. I also wanted to touch on this reboot and what My Time to Shine Hello had to say about the potential recasting of T'Challa and what that could potentially mean, and my thoughts on that. And there's a few other things I want to talk to you guys about. But so we're going to dive into all those things here quickly. But the first thing we're going to get into that I wanted to share with you guys was going to be... One second. Okay. All right. First thing I wanted to share with you guys was going to be some of the this article that had come out from, and this, I don't believe this is from Fandom Wire, but this is, we're reading it from Fandom Wire. Let me pull me back in. Bear with me 1 second. My chat box moved. There we go. Okay. Anyway, we're going to be reading it from Fandom Wire, and this is an article that they had put out, and they titled it, "We Know We're Losing Our Varsity Players. Chadwick Boseman's Death Derailed Marvel's Grand Plan to Replace Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans." Now, we have talked about this before. We've talked about the article that came out, I want to say, in 2018, if that was the year around that time that Endgame and everything. That article had come out that Marvel, again, wanted... Chadwick Boseman to be one of the leading Avengers, Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther, rather, to be one of the leading Avengers to carry on in this next phase and on to Secret Wars and whatnot. So this is not the 2018 article. This is a different article. This article was published on October 16th of this year. It goes on to say the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the highest-grossing film franchise of all time, and for good reason. It features a diverse cast of characters, exciting action sequences, and heartwarming stories. However, the popularity of the MCU today can be largely attributed to the indomitable spirit of Captain America and its charismatic genius of Iron Man. Then it goes on to say Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. played two of the most important characters in the franchise, and they helped to make the MCU success that it is today. Recently, Joanna Robinson, the writer of the MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, talks about what Kevin Feige thought of any replacement when they would leave the franchise. Goes on to say the unparalleled performance of Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. have elevated the MCU to unparalleled heights, leaving the enduring mark on the world of cinema and securing their places as two of the greatest superheroes in film history. Evans and Downey Jr. have both since left the MCU, but their legacy remains. However, President Kevin Feige already knew that they would have left the franchise that they would be leaving the franchise one day as the MCU evolved. Goes on to say Joanna Robinson, the writer of the MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, said this in a book. Marvel had a plan like we know we're losing our varsity players. We know they're leaving, so they're seeding in Paul Rudd and Benedict Cumberbatch. They put Chadwick Boseman in a really prominent, important place. They put Brie Larson in, and then it goes on to say Kevin Feige earlier in the interview with GQ admitted how these two worked as a foundation in the studio. Chadwick Boseman thought of becoming the future of the MCU. It says Chadwick Boseman first appearance as Black Panther was in Captain America: Civil War. His character quickly became one of the most popular in the franchise. He then starred in his own solo film, Black Panther, in 2018. Boseman reprised his role as Black Panther in Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. As the main force behind the MCU's success, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. decided to leave the franchise. Chadwick Boseman had in his mind that he and some others would be the leading faces in the MCU. In the new book, she also went on to say that Chadwick Boseman told me the story about how on the set of Endgame, he, Brie Larson, and Tom Holland sat around and talked about how they were the future of Marvel and how exciting that was for them. He also added, then you look at the breakdown between the Sony Marvel deal over Spider-Man. You look at Chadwick Boseman passing away. You look at Brie Larson either not being a great fit or just being damaged by toxic fandom. So many factors came into play that sort of knocked their plan out from under them. Chadwick Boseman passed away in 2020, leaving a remarkable legacy in franchise, and his death somehow derailed the MCU's plan. Now, I read that because, again, this is something we have discussed before. This is not something that, this is new details. This is, hearing that Chadwick Boseman, Brie Larson, Tom Holland sat on Endgame and discussed that they were going to be the future of Marvel. These are not things that we knew prior to this article and things like that, prior to this book that Joanne Robinson is doing. But again, I shared that to say, for those out there that have said, and yes, again, that's what this stream is. This stream is going to be us barking up a tree that we have been barking up since 2020. This is going to be kind of repeating and being a bit redundant on some of the things that have been said already, but these are the things that are going to be said regardless. And one of those things that is being said is, we've all said this before. When it comes to the Black Panther, when it comes to the character, not Chadwick Boseman, but when it comes to the character of the Black Panther, yes, we all have discussed how phenomenal of a job that Chadwick Boseman has done in the role as the Black Panther. These are things that we've all discussed before. But again, as I've said many times before, outside of the MCU, and I don't know what everybody has seen as far as regular fans regular viewers of the MCU. I don't know what you've seen of Chadwick Boseman outside of the MCU as T'Challa, because if we, again, I've said these things, but if we are going to put that on Chadwick Boseman and say that, oh, because he played T'Challa so well that no one else is ever going to play that role, or however the way it was worded in 2020 when Kevin Feige said it, then we would then be having to say, okay, well, I'm not saying that there's lines of directors trying to make another Jackie Robinson biopic, but then are we then saying if someone then wants to come along and make another Jackie Robinson biopic, who's going to stand up and say, no, because of Chadwick Boseman's portrayal of Jackie Robinson, we're not going to recast or have somebody else play that role because he played it so well. And it's kind of the same. It's not kind of. It is the exact same things that's being discussed on Twitter currently. And the things being discussed on Twitter currently are the conversations around Baylan Skoll and the recasting of Ray Stevens, Baylan Skoll, and the recasting of T'Challa, the Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman's. And this has become a topic simply because it's hypocritical. And why is this hypocritical? It's hypocritical simply because these are the same people that were telling us on Twitter months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, that it was disrespectful for us to sit and say that we wanted T'Challa recasted because it's disrespectful to the family, who has come out and said that they would prefer. Now, I'm not saying his wife, I'm not saying his parents, but his brother has come out and spoke on his brother's behalf, on Chadwick's behalf, and said, my brother and I have had conversations, and I know for a fact that he would have wanted the character recasted. There are not just his brother, Chadwick Boseman himself, which I'm going to get to. We're going to play some of those other videos, but Chadwick Boseman himself has also said that he would have wanted to pass that baton to someone else. So it was never a thing about, being disrespectful, but these are the same hypocritical people that were saying that we were being disrespectful by calling for a recast of a character. But now, all of a sudden, the tables have turned. And again, you're speaking to someone who is a much bigger Star Wars fan than I am a Marvel fan. A much bigger Star Wars fan than I am a Marvel fan. But when it comes to, do I think that Baylan Skoll should be recasted? Absolutely. The same way that I think that T'Challa should be recasted. Why? Because these are fictional characters. You all want to see where Baylan Skoll's story is going after he was standing in front of the Mortis gods. We all want to see what's calling to him. Is it Abeloth? Is it something else? Is it Mortis? What's calling to Baylan? You want to see that story continued. Why? Because it piqued your interest. So now you're calling for a recast. The same thing we've been doing for 2 to 3 years, calling for a recast. Why? Because T'Challa's story was yet to be told in the MCU. You cannot tell me that it has been told. And if you're new to this, if you're new and you're just tuning in, you've never heard this debate or you haven't heard any of these conversations, Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa's time in the MCU, I believe, it's been a while since I've read those stats, but correct me if I'm wrong, amounts to an hour? An hour and 8 minutes, an hour and 3 minutes, something like that. But then you can go back and you look at Robert Downey Jr., you look at Tom Holland, who entered the MCU the exact same time as Chadwick Boseman in Civil War as Spider-Man, and his time surpasses his that of Chadwick Boseman T'Challa's. So we did not get to see where T'Challa's story was going within the MCU because it was cut short due to selfish decisions. So no one is sitting here saying, that we didn't want, or that we don't want Baylan Skoll recasted. Of course I want Baylan Skoll recasted because, again, I do believe that a fictional character should not die with the actual actor. It is sad. It is tragic. We've all mourned. We've said all the things that we have said about Chadwick Boseman's death, and in turn, those that have mourned and said the things that they've said about Ray Stevens' passing. But here it is, Ray Stevens passing, and the man is what? I think Ray Stevens has, what was it? It's been maybe three, maybe 4 months. That may be too many. I can't remember. I'm not exact on my timeline here of when he did pass, but we're already calling for a recast. So again, which I'm fine with. But I want you to try to kind of see the hypocrisy in all of this, where we were being told to shut up, where we were being told that we were gatekeeping, where we were being told that we were being fanboys, when we were being told all the little things that we were being jabbed with are now being turned on the other foot. And I find it amusing. It's amusing on Twitter to me because the arguments are the exact same arguments, just recycled, that we've been using for 2 to 3 years. So I find it interesting. And again, I'm not saying I don't think that Ray Stevens, Valen Skull shouldn't be recasted, because I want to see where that story is going. I want to see what is calling to him. I want to see that character, that this new character that honestly to me was one of the most interesting characters, if not the most interesting character of the series. Where is this going? So yeah, we all want to see these things. So it's never been, but maybe, and I don't want this to be I'm coming down on, and I am coming down on anti-recasters, but that's not really the point of what I'm trying to say. The point of what I'm trying to say is maybe now you all are starting to see what we have been seeing and been saying since day one, and that's that no fictional character should die with the actual actor. These characters are fictional characters for a reason. They live on, and they're going to surpass us. And we've seen the arguments come back to us and say, well, that's different. That was those franchises were rebooted, and this and this and that and blah blah blah. There are characters currently in the MCU that have been recasted, and yes, they may be minor characters. They may not have major roles like that. But you really can't say that Rhodey doesn't have a major role. Yes, you had all the issues going on behind the scenes with Terrence Howard and everything like that, just the money issues. But when you stepped in and had Don Cheadle take over for Terrence Howard, no one batted an eye. It was okay, seamless. When we stepped in and had, yes, again, not a major role, but a minor role here with Cassie, it was seamless. There are other characters too that we've made it seamless with. This is and I've even used Game of Thrones as an example. I don't remember the character's name, but it's the man that Daenerys was sleeping with, that was in her little camp or whatever. But they recasted him from one season to the next, and it was seamless. That's what happens. For a story to continue to be told, it has to continue to be told through those actors and actresses. We are going to pass away, but these fictional characters in these stories are going to remain, and they only are going to remain if we continue to push the narrative that we want these stories told. And we've been saying over and over and over and over and over, we want to see more of T'Challa. We want to see more of T'Challa, and I'm about to step into this now. What My Time to Shine Hello had to say. I've had a lot of people messaging me on Instagram. I had some people messaging me on Twitter, tagging me in things and saying, well, looks like we may be getting a new T'Challa. Until Marvel Studios, and yes, I know, and I don't want to sound like a hypocrite myself, because we sit up here on this channel and on our live streams, and I sing. I don't want to speak for everyone else, but I do sing My Time to Shine Hello's praises, because she, he, whatever they are rarely wrong when they are speaking about things going on within the space of Marvel, DC, or what have you. So I do think that, whatever My Time to Shine Hello sources are completely accurate. But for me on this one, until Marvel themselves come out and say that they are going to recast the character of T'Challa, to me, nothing has changed. And the reason nothing has changed, and I don't want to be the woe is me raining on the Black Panther parade, because again, I'm in that parade. I want that parade to keep going. I don't want to rain on the parade. But what I'm saying for this is, we kind of discussed this last night. We've discussed it before in our live streams when we've discussed the soft reboot. And when we've discussed it, last night when we discussed Monica. We discussed not really spending much time with Monica, or having spent much time with Monica as Photon at all since the end or last episode of WandaVision. And we haven't seen her. Now we're going to see her in the Marvels, which is going to be one of the shortest films in the MCU. And is it really going to be centered? Well, we know it's not really going to be centered around Monica. Yes, she's one of the main characters of the story and things like that, but we also know Monica's fate at the end in one of the post-credit scenes from the plot leaks, if that's still to be believed. And if that's true, that's another character that we're not getting to spend a lot of time with. So with this soft reboot, what does that then mean? We also were asked about the Fantastic Four. Now, this is just my theory. I have no inside scoops or anything like that. I don't know what the fuck Marvel's going to do with their reboot or anything like that, but this is just my theory. We do know that, we're about to start seeing our first live action incursion in the Marvels, and then we're going to see another incursion in Deadpool, and so on, leading us up to Secret Wars. And what we know about Secret Wars from the comics and things like that, and for those of us that have read and things like read those, this is how they're going to soft reboot the universe. And for the Fantastic Four, if we're also to believe those rumors, they are coming from a different universe. So if they are starting to show incursions in the MCU, my theory is that their universe is probably going to be in an incursion, and they're going probably with our universe. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, but that they're going to get brought into our main universe somehow, and I think that's how when Kevin Feige was talking the other day, or when they were talking about the Joanna Robinson Reign of Marvel book, when he stated in there that characters are going to be coming back that you thought were gone, that you forever, blah 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 blah. Them talking about how they want to, in the soft reboot, bring back Iron Man, bring back Captain America, or however they're going to do that with Sam Wilson. I don't know, but. So what that means, we're probably going to get an Iron Man from a different universe. We're probably going to get if they don't keep Sam Wilson's Captain America, we're going to get a Captain America from a different universe. We're going to get heroes that were not currently in these phases of Marvel that we've been in our universe, i.e. the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, our MCU proper X-Men. If they wanted to go and do other characters like, Squadron Supreme, like Hyperion or whoever, just other characters into our universe are going to come in from the incursions, and then from that, for the soft reboot, we're going to have those characters going into the new whatever Marvel's going to be, or the MCU is going to be. So with that, that's going to be how you start spending your time and get to know these characters like Monica that we didn't get to know. Like the Fantastic Four, who we're going to get at the very, their films coming out before Kang Dynasty, and then we're only going to get them in Kang Dynasty and then Secret Wars. And then after that, you'll get to spend more time with them properly, like we've gotten to do with Iron Man, with Black Widow, with Cap, and all the others. So I still think, rounding it back to what I was saying with T'Challa, if, until Marvel announces that they are actually going to recast the character of T'Challa, I still fully believe that, like Monica, like the Fantastic Four, there are going to be some characters that are recasted. There are going to be, recasted. There's going to be some characters like James Gunn. I think it's kind of going to be modeled a little bit after, like James Gunn originally said. Some faces are going to stay. Some faces are going to be new. And I think Toussaint is one of those faces that is going to stay. And the reason I believe that is because this is something that Marvel Studios has dug their heels in. And yes, I even said this last night, and I still do believe this. But maybe they have sat back, even after digging their heels in. Maybe they have sat back and said to themselves, okay, yeah, we dug our heels in. Yes, we made a selfish decision. Yes, we made a morbid film. Yes, to all the things that we've been saying. Check, 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 check. Maybe we did fuck up. Maybe we did make a mistake. Maybe we do need to put the king back on his throne. Maybe we do need to recast a character that people have been waiting 50 plus years to see on screen. Are we really going to take this child, this made up character who is not T'Challa? That is not a recast. Who is this character who is not T'Challa? Give him T'Challa's stories. Give him T'Challa's name, and then have him carry on that the actual T'Challa stories. Or is that something we're actually going to do? Maybe they actually did sit back and decide, no, that's not a decision we can make. This is a character that was made during the height of the Civil Rights Movement, a character that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee both decided that this character is far too important to just be a villain. And in the first issue he showed up in, he was just simply a villain. But this character is far too important to just simply be a villain. This character, after showing up in the Fantastic Four, was demanded, and then went on, and after that to have its own issues, to come, and I wasn't really going to talk about all this stuff either, but a lot of you probably already know this. When the character was first created, when they first created the character, it wasn't the Black Panther, it wasn't even the name of the character. The Black Panther wasn't even the name of the character at all. It was Cole something. I forget what it was called. But he did not have any type of, didn't dress like a Black Panther at all. He had I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he had a cape. I have that actually. Let me make sure, because I have that article where he first showed up, but I believe he had a cape. What was his name? Somebody, Cold Tiger. Yeah, thank you, Cold Tiger. Thank you, Gray. And Juju, Thank you. Yes, but Cold Tiger. When he originally showed up, it was Cold Tiger, you know, and that's not how he was dressed. But when they sent off the original sketches and drawings to Marvel, they said, hell no. You're not putting no nigga on the cover, no Negro on the cover of no Marvel comic like that. He's got to be covered. If you're going, you can make him black, whatever, but he's got to be covered. So, back to the drawing board. They went back, and then they had it to where he had the half mask, to where you can still see all this. And then what did Marvel say? Hell nah, bruh. You're not putting this nigga on the cover of a Marvel comic. You got to cover him up. So then what you got in, when you saw him, and when he showed up in the Fantastic Four issue the very first time, that's what they accepted. But because he was in such demand, because the character was so beloved by the community, and not just by the community, white folks too, because people loved the character so much, they went on to create this world for this character. They went on to create, you know, T'Challa, Wakanda, the most technologically advanced nation in the world, never been colonized. You know the story. They went on to create all of that. And that character, again, as I've said many times, for a lot of us in the black community, is the Superman within our community. Because it was the first time, and I've said these things too, that we had ever been shown in a light that wasn't negative, in a light that we weren't the help, in a light that we wasn't Yesamasa, in a light where we weren't the villain or the absentee father, or our tropes from our community weren't being played out on screen. We had never been seen in that role. Never. So whenever we got a chance to see ourselves in that role, it was a culture shock. It was positive. This brother is a king. He's a king in Africa that was an uncolonized nation. He's got superpowers. He's doing this. He's doing all of those things. And he's doing this next to some of the best Marvel heroes that we've been reading about. All of those. And, you know, so when that happened and we got to see that was a positive light, not just for comic readers, but it became a positive light for people, for the black community in general, for people that had seen us in a light that, again, wasn't the things that I just named. So people have been waiting 50 plus years for this character to be put on screen. So to selfishly take the character off the screen like that, for people that have been waiting, and then to say, oh, we're gonna just take this child, this made up character, and this is how we're going to honor Chadwick. Again, if you wanted to honor Chadwick Boseman, you would have done what Chadwick Boseman set his ass down in interviews and said what he wanted done. But every single time that interview, or any interview where he discusses what he wanted done, gets shared on Twitter during an argument or a debate, if you want to call it that, or back and forth with one of the anti-recasters on Twitter, on X, or again, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Look around, everybody on mute. Nobody says a fucking word. Why? Because you can't argue that. You can't argue fact when it's from the horse's mouth himself. You guys are sitting here saying, oh, that's disrespectful to Chadwick Boseman, when literally the man himself is saying, no, I want to pass the baton. I don't want to be the only brother. And when I say pass the baton, he wanted to pass the baton to other brothers. He's talked about how powerful it was for him and Michael B. Jordan to be sharing the screen together as the two main characters, as black brothers and things like that. You know, before Chadwick Boseman, for those of you that don't know, again, if you're new to this, Marvel wasn't even going to have them speaking in the dialect that they were speaking in the accents that they were speaking in. They were going to have them speaking in a British accent in Wakanda. But Chadwick Boseman fought for that. He fought for no representation. He fought for it has to be accurate. So, you know, all of those things. And so when you're looking at the character, and you're looking at how important this character is, and how the character should be continued on screen and things like that, you know, like I said, with what Chadwick Boseman said when he said he passing the baton, he talked about Michael B. Jordan and him sharing the screen. He talked about how you can have Ocean's 11 and 12, 13, all that, but you only got the one black brother and things like that, and Don Cheadle. But it was important to him to pass that baton to another black actor like a Damson Idris, like a Aldous Hodge, or a John David Washington, or someone like that, to pass that baton on, so that they can also get that opportunity to play that prominent black superhero, to be that person that the black community, that young black kids, little girls, little boys, young black men, black men, older black men, just the black community in general can look up to, and not just the black community. Because I remember in 2018 when the Black Panther came out, again, we've discussed all of this, but Marvel didn't expect that film to be a $1.3 billion film. That $1.3 billion, of course, came from it being a cultural movement. That $1.3 billion came from us being that word of mouth. People were going to to watch a Marvel film, didn't even know what the fuck Marvel was, that didn't even know who the Black Panther was. But because it was a black superhero, and the word of mouth was so powerfully carried from ear to ear about the film, people were going like, oh, I gotta go check this out. I've told this story before. For those of you that don't know, I coach AAU basketball, and at the time I was coaching for Nike Pro Skills. We were all three of our older teams were practicing that day in the gym, and I didn't know that we were doing this, but I also was not the head of the program. I was just the head of my team, of my freshman team. My sophomore group, and we canceled practice that day. Took all three teams, so that's 50. Took 40 something kids to the theater, bought out one of the theaters, and took them to see Black Panther. By that time, I had already seen the film 16 times. I saw the film 16 times in theaters. That was a cultural movement. There were people dressed up for the film. There were people, with face paint on for the film. It was such a movement because, again, it was a light that we had never seen ourselves in, and it was such a positive light. It was such a good time in that film. And you cannot, I don't care who you are, you cannot say the same thing about the funeral that we paid to watch, or some of us paid to see, and for viewers' entertainment in Wakanda Forever. You cannot say the same thing. You cannot say the same feel was given with that. You cannot say that. And the reason you can't say it wasn't is because you can go and look at, and I remember we were getting ridiculed when Wakanda Forever, before it came out, during its run in theaters and all that, because we were saying that it's not its predecessor. It's not going to reach the heights of its predecessor. Its box office is not going to be it. And we were told this, oh yes, you guys are haters, this and then the numbers came out and they didn't lie, because numbers never do that. They came out and they didn't lie. And you saw the difference in BP1 and Wakanda Forever. You saw the difference in the impact that it had on the community. That film is fucking depressing. I've seen it once. I walked out, and I will never, ever, ever, ever watch that film again. Ever. I've got friends that are on a Marvel journey that have asked me to watch certain films with them or whatever, and they're on Wakanda Forever. I'm not. And I told them, you guys already know I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that film. It's a different feel. It's a much, much, much different feel than what you got in the first one. So again, back to what I was saying, when he said passing that baton, it was passing the baton on to other black actors, prominent actors, or not prominent actors, but other black actors that like Damson Idris or himself, that had to come up out the mud for themselves as actors and get these roles and things like that. So he wanted to pass that baton on. So one of the things also that I did want to show, and I'll go ahead and show the video that I've been talking about for a while now. I don't know who's seen this video or not, but this is another video that you can add to your collection, and you can add to your weaponry when it comes to arguing or debating with these anti-recasters on should T'Challa be recasted. This is again from Chadwick Boseman's mouth, so I want everybody to take a listen to this. Take a listen to what he had to say. Let me put it on the right one. Sorry. There we go. Check it out.
Let's see, I'm a 46-year-old man. I'm going to be 47 in a couple weeks and stuff. So I'm at midlife. There's really nothing left for me and stuff like that. But then I saw the trailer for Black Panther, and I said, there's a reason to stay alive for a little longer. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the king of Wakanda himself, the Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman!
Wow. We're going to be sweating up here like a Baptist minister. Forgive me. There are a host of proverbs, sayings that are used when you describe men who are mavericks, visionaries, One man said, "As a man thinketh, so is he." Another man said, "Words have power." In the Matrix, and forgive me for using an alternate reference here, the Oracle says, "Would you have broken it if I hadn't said it?" Right? Stan Lee has taken words, taken his vision, placed them inside bubbles, placed them beside pictures with fantastic characters with extraordinary abilities. And he has made us believe in those universes and in those worlds. And in doing so, we as humans aspire to be better just like those characters. Those stories have helped us get through cancer. They have helped us when we were bullied at school. They have taken the pressure off us when the daily weight of life is just too much. And in aspiring to be better, the characters have shown us what it means to have extraordinary power, for sometimes we also have power. It shows us how to use that power. The difference between an enemy and a superhero is that responsibility, how they use that moment. This has never been exhibited better than when Stan Lee created Black Panther. When he created Black Panther, he created it in a time, it's 1966, you have to think about what was going on in that time. Vietnam War, Civil Rights Movement, the beginning of the Black Power movement, and the ideologies that were spoken of, that were displayed in Black Panther. You have to think about, it's beyond civil rights, it's Black empowerment. We as African Americans were not just victims, we were not just the colonized, we were not just slaves. We were kings and queens. We were an advanced scientific nation. We were proud. We had secrets. We had abilities beyond what other people knew.
Right.
So when I think of what you did and the time you did it in, and I think of the fact that many people thought that that would be an impossible movie to make, right? The best creators are those who create things that continue to assist in the creative process, that continue to generate. We as human beings are an example of that. But the stories continue to create. It's exhibited in the fact that we have live action films, we have animations. The stories continue to be written by great writers, but they were first created inside his mind and inside others' minds. Stan Lee, what you have done is godly to a certain extent. So the impression that you have made is just, that we will see right here, is just an example of the impression that you have made on all of us. So I thank you as T'Challa, as Black Panther, and I ask the question again, would it have happened if he hadn't said it, if he hadn't written it, if he hadn't drawn it? No, it would not.
Now, I've held that video for a while. I was going, and I'm still going to put that video in the Black Panther video that I'm doing, but I held that video for a while. Again, out of the horse's mouth. To me, that's one of the most powerful things he has said when it comes to the Black Panther. When he sat down and we're sitting in a sit down talking about it, that's one of the most powerful things that he has said when it comes to the Black Panther. Because again, like he said, you got to think about the time that this was made. And we've said these things. And the reason why the very first time I saw that video, it made me super emotional. The reason it made me so emotional is because It was him confirming all the things that we, as recasters, pro recasters, have been saying. So many of us have been saying, like, Be Real with D Real, Theo, Chill, Dre Mac, K Dot, all of us, Back of the Bus, all of us have been saying the exact, E-Man, all of us have been saying the exact same things. And that have been what he started with. You got to think about the time frame of this. This character was created during the height of the civil rights movement. Then you hold on. Actually, as a matter of fact, hold on. Why am I? Let me not speak. Let me go back real quick to what he said here.
How they used that moment. This has never been exhibited better.
Right here.
Than when Stan Lee created Black Panther. When he created Black Panther, he created it in a time. It's 1966. You have to think about what was going on in that time.
You got to think about what was going on in that time. You have to think about what was going on in that time. Again, as I told you, thank you for helping me on the name again, Juju and Gray, on Cold Tiger. What they were saying at the very beginning, before he was Black Panther with Cold Tiger. You got to think about the time frame shit was going on. When they sent that black hero, that sketch, off to Marvel, they took one look at that sketch, opened that book, saw the nigga, said no, hell no, you ain't putting no nigga on the fucking cover of a Marvel comic. That ain't happening. Do it again, and then send us something else. You sent the second one. It still wasn't good enough because he wasn't completely covered. So yes, when he started what he said there, and he said you got to think about the time frame, you got to think about what was going on. We couldn't even be on the cover of animation. We couldn't even be represented in fiction. Because the only time that we were shown, again, like brother said, you got to think about the time frame, was in marches, getting spit on, dogs getting loosed on our ancestors, water hose, beat, KKK. You had the Dr. King. You had the struggles going on with Malcolm X. Everything going on. You had Rosa Parks that started the mother of it, that started everything. Arguably, some people even say that Emmett Till started it all. You got to think about what was going on during that time. So for you to sit and look at somebody in our community, not just somebody in our community, but there are several folks that are not of color that support the recast movement. But to sit and to look at somebody of color and then tell them that you're being selfish, you're being disrespectful, you're being this because we want a character that, again, you got to think about what the fuck was going on during that time to continue on screen. A character that we can actually see ourselves in and be represented in to continue on screen. You got to think about what the fuck was going on during that time. I know a lot of y'all like to say, forget it, let it go. It was a long time ago. But my grandmother, who is alive and well today in Jacksonville, Texas, can tell me what it was like. So don't tell me to forget and let it go when you tell me to never forget 9/11. If you want me to remember what happened on your turf, remember what happened to my people as well. So yes, it's the exact same thing. You got to think about what the fuck was going on during that time. I'll let him finish.
Vietnam War, Civil Rights Movement, the beginning of the Black Power movement, and the ideologies that were spoken of, that were displayed in Black Panther. You have to think about it's beyond civil rights, it's black empowerment.
Boom, right there. You got to think about that part. It's beyond civil rights. It's black empowerment. And how many of us, all the names, all the pro recasters, all the soldiers out there doing the work on Twitter that are relentless, like Buckmeister and everybody else, Groovy, all of y'all, we all see y'all. How many times have we all said those exact same things? It is beyond. I've said this. I've made this argument. There are layers to the recast movement. There are layers. Yes, on one layer, it's we want to see the character continue, but that's just one layer. There are several layers to this. And one of those layers is civil rights. Another one of those layers is black empowerment. And with black empowerment, that comes us being represented on screen, seeing ourselves on screen. I don't know how that is hard to comprehend, and I don't know how here we are 2-3 years later, and we're still having these conversations? Again, as I've said before in my rants about this shit, it's because you have surpassed being ignorant and now you're being willfully ignorant. It's simply that you don't want to understand. It's you do understand, but you are not going to bend the knee to understanding another community or group's plight, to empathize, to show empathy with someone, because you get your heroes. They're talking about reboots right now for superheroes, or superhero movies. You get your heroes. You get to see your blonde hair, your blue-eyed superheroes. You get to see Spider-Man, and yes, we've got Miles Morales, but we haven't seen a live-action Miles Morales. We haven't seen although the animations are great, they are great. I love those films. We haven't seen a live-action Miles Morales, but we've seen several Spider-Mans. We've seen several Supermans. We've seen several Batmans, and yes, I've heard the arguments. Well, those were reboots, but regardless, you've seen several of them. Whether or not they're reboots or not, you've seen several of them. You've seen several Jokers. You've seen several of your heroes get to be recasted. And as Cat Williams put it, and I think again it went over a lot of y'all's heads. If you go back and you look at some of the comments on that video that I did a couple months back, it went over a lot of y'all's heads in the comments section when he said Christopher Reeves fell off a horse and Superman didn't break his legs or any of that, or his neck. So it's like, you get your heroes get to continue. You're getting Superman Legacy with a brand new Superman. No, you don't get Henry Cavill, but you're still getting Kal-El. Kal-El is still continuing on. And that's what we are talking about when we say black empowerment, when we are saying representation matters, because we don't have that representation. Blue Marvel. You want to talk about ushering in more characters in this reboot? Give us Blue Marvel. Give us a Blue Marvel. That is another prominent, strong, black character within Marvel. Give us Blue Marvel. There's a lot of people that outside of the MCU, outside of hardcore viewers of Marvel, or readers of the comics and viewers of the MCU, if you're just a normie like that, they don't know who the fuck Blue Marvel is. Just like they didn't know who the fuck in 2018 who the Black Panther was. They like to pretend that they did. They like to pretend that because their limited MCU knowledge that they know this character, that they can stand up against arguments and debates with us and they can go toe to toe, but they can't. That's why they always look silly and foolish when they try to. As I've told you guys, I don't do the debates with people on. I leave that up to the soldiers on Twitter. I don't do debates with people on Twitter and X, again, whatever the fuck you want. I don't do debates with people on there no more, because a lot of those debates are recycled. It's all recycled shit. If y'all are saying the same repetitive shit off of limited MCU knowledge, you know nothing about this character. You come in a space where you think that you know this stuff because of, again, what the MCU has taught you. But see, that's another layer that y'all are missing. When we come into this space and we are saying recast the character, we're not coming in off of our MCU knowledge. We are coming in off of, there are so many stories, there are so many things that you guys don't even know that T'Challa's a part of, that Wakanda's a part of, that we would like to see told on screen. The same way that we, again, how is it Spider-Man, T'Challa entered the MCU at the exact same time, the exact same film? One goes on to star in 3 of his own films, and then it's a couple of cameos. The other stars in 1 film and a handful of cameos. What? And again, yes, at one point in time, as the article that I read there at the beginning of the stream, and we talked about from the article from 2018, that they had originally planned for the Black Panther to go on and being one of the prominent leaders. And you still could have done that. You still could have done that. Why could you have still done that? Because, again, the black empowerment. You still could have done that because the character still could have gone on. No one, and I think that's something too that is mistaken and missed when we have these discussions. Either it's your ignorance that you're not, because there's that saying that common sense is not as common. So either that is true, and I do believe that. So your ignorance is either wrapped up in it, or common sense is truly not that common, because we were never saying, never, at least no one in the spaces I was in and discussing with, none of us were ever saying, you better put Black Panther in Wakanda for never. No. We were saying, simply don't kill the character in the film. You never had to take it to those extremes. It never had to be, oh, well, because Chadwick Boseman has passed and we're in our feelings and that's what it is. Has it been long enough? Has it been long enough? Can we finally be real? Are some of y'all in here not being real? Are some of the not real ones in the chat right now? I don't know. I'm not really reading the chat. I'm kind of just going. Or can we be real? Can we finally talk about that shit was a feelings movie, that shit was a morbid film. The first 20 minutes of that film is completely unnecessary, completely morbid, and completely taken from something that is real and forced into a fictional film that we had to pay for viewers' entertainment. Can we be real about that now? Has it been long enough? I don't know. I feel like it's been long enough. I felt like really after we left the theater, we could have had these discussions. But has it been long enough for some of y'all out there to finally come to the realization that that shit was morbid. That shit was that wasn't it. Because T'Challa, the main character, should have been in his shit. Should have been in his film. One of the things, again, the thing that I'm still building off here, off of what Chadwick Boseman just said, Black empowerment. I'm sorry, I felt Black empowerment in the first Black Panther. I did not feel Black empowerment in this second film. This second film was depressing. The second film was a funeral. The second film had people in their feels. From the moment I heard the heart monitor, when the film first started, tears. Because it was too real. It was too real. And it wasn't the fact that, like, oh, it was too real, like, oh, you're pretending to have these feelings for Chadwick Boseman. Let me explain something to you. I don't know Chadwick Boseman. None of us in this space, these recasters, YouTubers, none of us knew Chadwick Boseman. We knew him through his work, but we didn't know Chadwick Boseman. So yes, I mourned Chadwick Boseman in 2020. I shed tears. It was sad. I cried because, again, I loved him as for more than just his role as the Black Panther in the MCU. It was sad, but also when you do something like that that's so close to home. When you start to take real life issues and forcing them into fictional stories where they've never played a role, where we've never seen those realistic themes played out in a Marvel film. I implore you to show me one other than Wakanda Forever. But we've never seen those realistic themes played out in a Marvel film like that. So it wasn't just the effects of feeling and mourning Chadwick Boseman. It was also the effects of feeling and mourning because it was so close to home. For me personally, I can't speak for everyone else, but I will say for those of you that were here during that time of building up to Wakanda Forever and whatever, when Kellen was still on the show, Kellen talked about that. He lost his sister. And I remember he was next to me in the theater, and Q was on the other side of me, I believe. And I remember when the opening scene came, it affected him, just like it affected me too. But it affected him. He was crying because it reminded him of his sister and who he lost. It reminded me. I wasn't in the hospital when I lost both of my two of my basketball boys, but it was close to home even for that because that had just happened. I had just lost one of my boys last summer, and I lost one prior to the summer before that. So it was it was close to home for a lot of us. Not just for us in this room, but for those that were watching as well too. There were many people that were telling stories, and not only that, you were also had so many of these kids, and I've shown those pictures, I've shown those videos, and I'm going to show the video. I'm going to show another one of those videos here in a minute. The pictures and videos of the kids holding funerals for their Black Panther action figures, crying, dressed up, wanting the little boy of the video that was circling around TikTok, where he watched the funeral and was screaming, hollering because they were killing Black Panther. These are people's heroes, fictional heroes that you are killing and putting and saying, because you have the power to, saying, well, we're done. We're not going to show them. And I've seen the arguments of people saying, well, if you don't like it, make your own things. There are people doing that. I'm personally not one of those people that's going to do that, but there are people that are taking the initiatives and taking things into their own hands and creating their own source of media for some of these characters. But again, when it comes to that Black empowerment, it's always important for us to see ourselves in some of these characters. It's always important for us to see ourselves on screen. So when he's talking about the Black empowerment, let me just go back just a little bit what he said there.
You have to think about it's beyond civil rights. It's Black empowerment. We as African Americans were not just victims. We're not just the colonized.
There we go. Okay. We as African Americans are not just the victims, as we are always portrayed in the media to be. We are always portrayed to be victims. We are always what do you say? We're not just the victims. We're not just the colonized, as Viola Davis has so eloquently put it before. We are only Hollywood only sees us as marketable if it's a biopic, or if it's a period piece, or anything like that. If it, 12 Years a Slave type of a film, or again, your biopics like a James Brown type of, a Ray Charles type of film. That's when the black dollar is marketable to Hollywood. That's what they believe. They believe that the black dollar is only marketable, and the black folks are only marketable if they're sold that way, or if it's a Boys in the Hood type of film, if it's a struggle type of film, if it shows them in the places that we've designed, and that's a whole nother conversation, in the red line district, places that we've designed for them to be placed in. Those are the lights we want to be showing them in. We want to be showing them in your house parties and this and this and that. Not saying that those films aren't great. We want to show them in your what's another one? We want to show them in your ATL type of films. We want to show them in your Set It Off type of films and things like that. We want to show them in that light. Not saying that those films aren't great, because I love. Thank you for that super chat. Thank you so much for that. And I will get to those supers in just a second. We are always shown in those lights, and that's why when he said, we are not just the colonized, we are not just the victims and things like that. We are so much more than that. We are so much more than that, and I've preached so many times about why it's important for us to be shown as so much more than that. But Chadwick goes on to say,
the slaves.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, again, that falls in the line of the period piece and things like that. But as slaves and things like that, I remember when what was Will Smith's slave film? What was that? What was that film? Thank you for that super chat as well. I will get to that one too. What was that? What was the name of Will Smith's film? I do not remember what the name of whatever it was. Will Smith's film that came out where he was the slave. Yes, Inception or Emancipation, and not Inception. My fault. Emancipation. When Emancipation came out, I haven't seen Emancipation. It's not that I at some point maybe won't watch Emancipation or something like that. I don't know. Maybe not. But when we have films like Mississippi Burning, when you have films like 12 Years a Slave, when you have, series and films, like Roots or Rosewood or any of the other prominent ones that we can all go on and name, Detroit, that's another hard one. When you have films like that, it's like, I'm not saying don't make, I by no means, because those stories need to be told too. I'm a history buff. Those stories need to be told too. I'm not saying don't tell those stories. What I'm saying is, God damn, are there not other stories that can be told? Are there not other lights that we could be shown in? Why do we always have to be shown, as he said, we're more than slaves. We're more than victims. We're more than colonized. Before, they like to tell us when they discovered us or found us or whatever the fuck it was, that we were ignorant, that we were living in huts, we were this, we were that. No. I know that in a lot of these whitewashed Pharaoh and Egypt films, it has people believing, really, truly, this is a real debate. I'm not getting into it here, but this is a real thing out there, that the folks in Egypt weren't black. No. The pyramids, one of the 8 wonders of the world, they can't figure out how the fuck they built them. Our people did that before you came over and tried to enslave us. We were kings, queens, pharaohs, princes, princesses, inventors. So we were more than slaves in the things that you portray for us to be in Hollywood. And again, this is what Chadwick is talking about. These are the things that we've talked about when debating why T'Challa's important.
We're kings and queens. We're an advanced scientific nation. We were proud.
Yep.
We had secrets. We had abilities beyond what other people knew.
Exactly. Abilities beyond what other people knew. Abilities beyond what other people knew. But see, and again, I'm not going in this route of the whole thing, but when you talk about the reparations and things like that, when those conversations come up, that conversation comes up because you are the way I look at it this way. Because my family was enslaved, And I've talked about that on this channel before. You know, the Bass Reeves series that is currently, I believe, on Hulu. I think it's on Hulu. I may be wrong. It may not be on Hulu. Someone can correct me on that. But Bass Reeves is on my family tree. And there's that vast history, slave history, and things that go on here, that went on here in Oklahoma between the 5 civilized tribes, the Americas, and the slaves. So there's all that stuff. So all of those things. But I look at it this way with that. Because my family was enslaved. That started here in Oklahoma. That started with my 6th grade grandfather. Thank you for that super chat as well, Joshua. I appreciate that. That comes from started my 6th grade grandfather here in Oklahoma. That was brought over from Mississippi to my grandfather was on the Trail of Tears with the Pitchlands and the rest of the families that brought them. Because he was enslaved. Because his sons were enslaved, because their sons were enslaved, we will never know what our family could have been had we not been enslaved. So we were robbed of that. So what he just said there, I'm sorry.
We had abilities beyond what other people knew.
Abilities beyond what other people knew. Some of our people, some of our ancestors never got to reach those abilities because we were colonized. Because of those things. Again, this is why I'm saying, bro. This is why I'm saying it's important to know history, yes, but it's also important for us to see ourselves outside of what history was for our people, for the negative history of what it was for our people.
So when I think of what you did and the time you did it in, and I think of the fact that many people thought that would be an impossible movie to make, right? The best creators are those who create things that continue to assist in the creative process, that continue to generate. We as human beings are an example of that. But the stories continue to create. It's exhibited in the fact that we have live action films, we have animations, the stories continue to be written by great writers, but they were first created inside his mind and inside others' minds. Stan Lee, what you have done is godly.
So yeah, he goes on to praise Stan Lee there in that, and again, like I said, it's just one of those things where. This is, again, from the horse's mouth. This is from Chadwick Boseman himself, the man that played the role. The man that knew he was sick, albeit did not, no one from Marvel Studios knew or anything like that. No one knew. But he knew he was sick. And do you really believe that Chadwick Boseman was so selfish enough to think to himself that he wants the role to pass with him? And if you do believe he was that selfish, I would say that you're projecting. Because you're projecting your selfishness onto somebody who has said, and again, this is another example of another video, another piece of media that you can add to the collection of many times that this man has sat down and said why it's important, why this character should continue. And then, I'll show this too. Let me go ahead and pull this up. I've shown this before, but I'm going to show it again here. And I'm going to get to some of these comments and things here in a minute. And I also believe I do want to, if anyone is interested and you want to possibly maybe call in or something like that, and you have something you want to get off your chest, something you want to say, maybe you disagree with me, maybe you want to call in and you want to say, hey, I disagree with you, and here's why I disagree with you. And I'll explain to you why you're still wrong when it comes to the recasting of T'Challa, but we can have that discussion. Let me pull this off really quick. I have shown this before, but I'm going to show it again. Where is it? There it is. All right. Now, I've shown this before. make sure I have the video. Hold on, sorry. It's that I'm trying to pull this video up for you guys. Some of you have seen it. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but I'm sure a lot also have not. So I want to show this here really quick. Okay. Let this download this. All right, let me read some of these supers while that is downloading to the computer. And again, appreciate everybody for joining me this evening, or this afternoon rather. Got one from Maja2873 with the $2 super chat. Appreciate that. That said, Marvel canceled Wonder Man played by Black Man SMH. Now, we've talked about that before. We've talked about on the channel before. We've talked about Marvel canceling, or not canceling, I'm sorry, the production of Wonder Man. Now, when it comes to Wonder Man, this is the way I have put it before. I never wanted Yahya Abdul-Mateen to play Wonder Man. Not because, of course, I would love Yahya to play a prominent black character in a Marvel character in the MCU, but I don't want him to play a white character with I don't want it to be a black. I don't want them to race swap. I don't want him to be playing a white character with a white character stories. Because as I've put it before in the past, for most kids or people that don't know who Wonder Man is, because that's another character that a lot of people, regular MCU viewers, don't know who Wonder Man is. But for a lot of people, that would have been their first time viewing Wonder Man. So let's say that there's a black kid that views the character of Wonder Man, or a black, not just a black kid, a black person in theater that sees Wonder Man for the first time in Marvel's, in the MCU. And then they see, oh, this black character's so dope. This character Wonder Man, blah 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 blah, and they would say, well, I want to learn more about him. They go pick up the comic, and then they pick up the comic, and it's this character, he's white. Okay, well, let's maybe issue 2 he's black, white, no, and then the characters continue. You know, so my thing is there are too many prominent black characters that could be used in the MCU that are just sitting on the shelf collecting dust. Like now that the same way that they placed T'Challa to collect dust, that you could be using. You know, the prominent characters you could be using. He could have even played, like, I'm not saying that I wanted him as a Blue Marvel, but, you know, there's another character that you could have put him as instead of Wonder Man. We got Paul, the True Believer, that said, thank you, bro. I couldn't have said it better myself. Keep declaring truth. Recast T'Challa. And I appreciate that so much for the super chat. Josiah, I see yours as well. Thank you so much. He said, speaking nothing but facts today. Appreciate all of you guys in those super chats here. This is that video. Okay, yeah, here it is. This is that video. Let me pull this really quick. I've shown this before, and there was another video I had, but it got deleted off of YouTube. But I should have downloaded that because that was a good one. That was a good one. I'll go over it really quick, but that was a good one. But this one I've shared before. So this is just, you know, these 2 black little boys are watching, are outside of the theater, and they're outside the theater and looking at the original Black Panther poster, and they're just telling their mom, like, I'm this one, you know, look, I you know, things like that. Again, representation mattering, representation being so super important. I mean, you can even take yourselves back to the Little Mermaid days, or when that was coming out, when the trailer first came out for that, all the little black little girls that their parents that filmed them, that they saw themselves in Ariel being black and said, you know, mommy, she looks like me, and things like that. You know, again, it's never fun when it's one of your characters. It's never any fun when it's one of yours. It's never any fun when, you know, your characters get scrapped or something like that. And I've even used this example many times before, but y'all would be ready to burn Marvel Studios to the ground if Marvel Studios came out tomorrow and said, you know, or let me put it this way again. was to tragically happen, or something or something was to happen to Tom Holland, or something where he said he didn't want to play, or something like that, and Marvel came out and said, well, because Tom Holland did such a phenomenal job of portraying any iteration of Spider-Man that we've seen, in our opinion, any iteration that we've seen of Spider-Man, it's for that reason that we are not going to recast the character. Would it be the same? Would the tone be the same? Would the acceptance be the same? Would you all be saying, well, it's their studio, they get to decide what they want to do. If you don't like it, go make your own media, or go make your own something with this character, or any of those other things? Would it be the same, or would you guys, again, I know what the answer is. You'd be ready to burn Marvel Studios to the fucking ground. There's no way that they could come out and say that you would never get to see Spider-Man in any form of media again in their live action cinematic universe, because Tom Holland played him so well. Y'all would pitch a fit, and it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing with T'Challa. We're sitting here screaming again what we've been saying. We want the character recast and all those other things, but again, somehow that keeps getting missed. It keeps going over heads of why we're saying the things we're saying. But I do want to jump into comments and things that people were saying here as well. So let's jump into some of those. Let me go up. All right. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we jump into comments, I want to talk about this too. And we have talked about this before, but the fact that in the video game, the game coming out with, the new Spider-Man Insomniac game that is coming out in, a couple days now, you get to play as Peter Parker. You get to play as Miles Morales. In the Wolverine game that they are coming out with, you get to play as Logan. In the Captain America game that they are coming out with, where you get to play as the World War I soldier, Captain America, Dora Milaje member, or T'Challa's grandfather. You get to play as Cap. It's a Cap game. You get to play as Cap. In the Iron Man film that is coming out, you get to play as Tony Stark, as Iron Man. In the Black Panther game that they are working on, T'Challa has died and a new Black Panther has emerged, and that is who you are going to be playing as. I've said it before. The reason T'Challa is being erased, the reason they don't want T'Challa in his own video game being the franchise's main character, they don't want him in his own films. The reason that they've gone through lengths to recast the character by creating a brand new character so they can take the character in the direction that they want the character to go, and the agenda that they want the character to go, and the agenda and the narrative that they want to push Wakanda in, because the Wakanda that we saw in Wakanda Forever was not the Wakanda that I know. It was not the Wakanda in Black Panther 1. So that's why that they, it's scary. It scares them. It is scary. I've said this before. It scares folks to see black empowerment. It scares them. And Black Panther is simply black empowerment. So we have to remove him. We got to take him out of the game. We got to take him off of his throne. We got to take him out of live action. We've got to come up with some own way to push our own narrative with this character so that these black folks don't feel too empowered. And I'm not sitting here saying that everybody is sitting here like the Black Panther is just the holy grail of black empowerment. That's not what I'm saying. It's a form of black empowerment. And again, that's something that they don't want to see. That's something that they don't want us to see. So that's why he's being taken out of the video game as well. Because there's no reason. There's no reason that you shouldn't be, because if that's the case, if you want to say that, if you want to say, well, T'Challa died, then why the fuck are you playing as Tony Stark and Iron Man? Did Tony not die? Tony died too. So you should be playing as Ironheart then, or someone else. Rhodey, someone else taking up the mantle. But it shouldn't, so no, there's nobody can give me an explanation as to why T'Challa is being erased, as to why they are trying to make him be forgotten. I have my suspicions and my reasons, and I know I said this last night too, I know a lot of people like to say, gosh, why are y'all always playing the race card? Why is the race card always being played? Again, I'm always going to say it this way. When it's the hand that's being dealt to me, it's the card I'm going to play every single time. If you do not want me to play that card, do not deal me that hand. But being black, growing up black in a male, it's a hand that I'm often playing. Because it's the hand that's also often dealt to me, being black in America. So whenever we're saying yes, we want to see these characters and things like that, we want to see Black Panther, there's no reason for him to be erased out of his video game. There's no reason for him to be erased out of media. Again, it's just simply because it's a terrifying thought. It's a terrifying sight. It is scary to them. Even Pharaoh knew how dangerous the Jews would become. That's why he had all the firstborn, or all the babies killed, and all the babies killed. When I had all those children killed, it was because he thought to himself, if they realize how strong they are, if they realize that together they are stronger, if they realize how empowered they can really be, they can overthrow Egypt. So we have to take them out. We have to smite them. Take out those strong kids, those boys, those babies. Why do you think they don't want a strong male? Because if the black community realizes who we are, if we realize where we come from, if we realize that we are better together than separated, it's a scary thought. It scares people. And when you are able to get a group of black folks to put their black dollar, because that's another conversation, the black dollar is the mightiest dollar. Don't ever let anybody tell you differently. When you are putting the black dollar, all those black dollars, in one theater, and they are packing out theaters. And then again, they are packing out those theaters with people that have no prior knowledge of this franchise. And then they give Marvel a $1.3 billion film. That's scary. Because then those black dollars are now sitting in a theater, and they're looking at a theater in a 2-hour film, and they're watching black empowerment. They're watching themselves on screen. They are seeing strong black women alongside strong black men, being led by a strong black king in a strong black royal family. Again, it's terrifying. It has to be erased. You can't show that all. That's not something. Now again, if My Time to Shine, hello, if what she said is correct, and they do reboot the Black Panther franchise, let's speak positively for just a second here about it, and they do reboot the Black Panther franchise, and they do recast the character of T'Challa outside of Toussaint, their made-up character, then maybe, just maybe, they can get somebody in here, because in my opinion, I've said this before, Ryan Coogler needs to stay the absolute fuck as far away from the Black Panther franchise as he possibly can, and reboot everything. Reboot everything with the Black Panther franchise. That means everyone needs to go from that franchise. If you want to keep other people from the other franchises that you've currently got in the MCU, like the New Guardians group, with them coming over, keeping those faces and things like that, keeping Ironheart, that's another phase, keeping if you want to keep Namor, if you want to keep Tanaka and all that, that's fine, cool, do all that. But the entire, and I'm sorry, I know some people love Winston Duke, love all of them too, but every single one of them, and I love them too. I love Lupita. Even though she said what she said during the recast time, I love Winston, even though he said what he said during the recast time. But all of them have the same train of thought. that it was disrespectful, that they're paying tribute to their friend, and rightfully so. They knew the man. They worked with the man side by side. We have never have we, diminished, or at least over here on this channel, have we thrown stones at Winston, Lupita, or Denai, or any of them for mourning the loss of their friend. That has never been a thing. Yes, mourn the loss of your friend, but at the end of the day, as I've put it this way many times, my job, if I lose someone close to me and I need time off from my job's going to give me that time off. They're going to give me that time because, hey, you need that time to mourn. You need that time to yourself. But whenever, and I'm not being unsympathetic at all. But whenever it was time for me to return back to work, it is business as usual. Yeah, the how are you doings are going to come. Yeah, the pats on the backs are going to come. But the numbers that I'm expected to bring in daily are still going to be expected for me to bring in when I come back from mourning. And that's the same thing as an actor or an actress. That's the same thing as an actor and actress. Again, no one was telling you to make an uncomfortable decision and put T'Challa in this film, in Wakanda Forever. You could have said anything. You could have said he was doing anything. He could have been anywhere. You got a whole galactic fucking empire. He could have been with them. He could have been somewhere with the Avengers. Hell, and even now, you still could say that T'Challa that you selfishly buried in that film was a Skrull due to the events of Secret Invasion. You still could say all of that. Those were things, but that was a decision that was made. So they could get someone in here that's not going to make those selfish decisions. And yes, that means, again, getting rid of Winston and everybody else, getting rid of everyone, starting over, and starting brand new, and maybe do an accurate Wakanda. And keep it that way. Maybe then we can. Maybe. Who knows? But, again, the removal of him from certain forms of media it's telling us everything we need to know about some of the things we've all been saying. So yeah, no, it's got to be a clean slate. It's got to be. Everybody's got to go. And you got to bring, and it's got to be a whole new thing, bro. It's got to be a whole new thing because, like I said, there are too many feelings attached to the current Black Panther franchise, and I'm personally okay if we don't see anything else Black Panther wise in the MCU until you get your shit together and we do it properly in this new reboot. I don't have to see. I don't, because I already said once before, after seeing Wakanda Forever, I was not watching anything else Black Panther franchise within the MCU simply because they were never going to use T'Challa. Now let's talk about the future stuff in the MCU if they're still doing this, because I feel like they've sat down here recently and discussed a whole new branch of things that they want to do, especially with Kevin Feige talking with the Reign of Marvel book and all that kind of stuff. It could be one of those things where with them sitting down and having all these discussions with this animated, if they're even still doing this, the animated Wakanda Forever series that was originally going to be live action. We learned a while back that it was going to be turned into the animation. We talked about it here again recently because it was brought up in another article where they're talking about the animation and all that kind of stuff, and Ryan Coogler is attached to it. So if Ryan Coogler is attached to it, and we know that the animation is supposed to be canon to what is going on within the MCU, then you know that T'Challa's not going to be in that animated series if they're still even doing that. And let's hypothetically speak and say they are still doing that. If they are still doing that, to me, that speaks to that you're not going to get a recast of T'Challa in the reboot, because that series is going to carry over, or I'm sorry, Wakanda Forever, and all the stuff from that is going to carry over into that series. That series is going to be canon to the MCU. That's the shit that goes on in that series in Wakanda. That's going to be canon to things going on in the MCU. So the next time you get a live action film, everything that's happened in that series, that has happened with that. Those events have happened on the timeline. So if that series does happen, I do believe that you are not going to get, we're not going to get a recast of the character if that series does happen. But if that series is happening too, again, it just goes to say once again that T'Challa's not in it. T'Challa's not in it. You're doing a whole nother, again, we obviously, if they're doing it, lessons weren't learned from Wakanda Forever, because you're still doing this franchise without the franchise's main character. And that's the entire point. That's the point of these arguments. That's the point of these discussions. That's the point of these streams. No one wants to see things without the franchise main character. No one. No one. And I've made these arguments on Twitter, and again, these people go over these arguments like I don't understand it. Would you go watch a Batman film if Batman's not in the movie? Would you go watch a Superman film, a Spider-Man film, a James Bond film, a Star Wars film if the franchise's main characters are not a part of it? I don't, I wouldn't, bro. I'm not watching Scooby-Doo if Scooby's not in it. Fuck Mystery Inc. Where the fuck is Scooby? You know what I'm saying? Like, why the fuck would I? That's the point of it. That's the point of it. It's like watching the Titanic without the boat. Why am I watching it? Watching Jurassic Park, but there's no dinosaurs. Why am I watching it? So, that's why... You have to put the franchise's main character within the franchise. So regardless of if it's live action or animated, people are saying, well, it's going to follow a lot of the Doras and some of the stuff they're doing. Where is T'Challa? It can follow Where is T'Challa? Where's the franchise's main character? That's the point of it. No one is saying... honestly, I don't know how this is hard to grasp, because it's really not a hard concept to grasp. Because when you're having these conversations with people on Twitter, they act as if you're speaking Greek. And again, nobody in this chat, nobody on Twitter, nobody in a replay, none of you are going to purchase a ticket for a Spider-Man film, Morbius, if Spider-Man's not in it. We were lied to for 2 years with Morbius, and for some of you still went and saw Morbius. I personally have never seen Morbius, and I'm not gonna go see Morbius, or I'm not gonna see Morbius ever. Why? Because we were told that Spider-Man was in it. We were told Spider-Man was in Morbius, but then we were told, no, we scrapped Spider-Man. It's just a Morbius film. Why the fuck do I want to go see a film about Spider-Man's villain if Spider-Man's not fighting his villain? Yeah, you can say, well, it worked with Venom. It worked with Venom 1. Venom 1 was a good time. We were like, oh, okay, cool. Sony's trying to, yay. Venom was fun. Where's Spider-Man, though? When is Spider-Man coming? Okay, he's not yeah, okay, cool. Carnage was, it was rough. But it was cool. Carnage, the look of Carnage was great. The movie itself was rough. Where's Spider-Man? Oh, we're going to do a Morbius film. Okay, yeah, you're going to get Spider-Man in this one. They teased him, but the last minute took him out. Where the fuck is Spider-Man? Okay, we got you. We're doing Kraven. This is a whole origin. The motherfucker's getting bit by a lion, turning it all that. Rah. Where the fuck is Spider-Man? We're going to do Madam Web. You're going to get Spider-People. Spider-Man's going to be an infant and all that stuff. We're going to have a good old time. People aren't interested. That's why they scrapped El fucking Muerto. Because no one wants to go see it if there's no Spider-Man. What? The Rhino buddy cop film the Rhino Sandman buddy cop film that Sony was doing. I don't believe any of that shit's on the table anymore because of the recent announcement that, everything Sony is now going to be canon to the MCU, because you need Spider-Man. It's the same thing with the Black Panther franchise. You need T'Challa. Was that not proven with Wakanda? Now, when I was going off on that earlier, I wasn't reading the chat. So let me ask again. Now that I'm looking at the chat, has enough time passed? Can we find? Are any of them in here? I don't know who's in here. Can we discuss? Are y'all ready to discuss how that Wakanda Forever was a failure because the franchise's main character was not a part of the film? Are we ready to have that discussion? Are we ready? Come on, let's have that discussion. It was a failure because the franchise's main character was not in it. There were people that said, we're not going to see it. No T'Challa, no Dala. We in this room all still went to see it because, as I've said before, I had to see it for myself. And again, as you all know, I also walked out. The minute the Queen Mother was killed, I said, nope. Too much Black Death for me. I cannot sit in this. I'm not watching this. It was a disaster. It didn't even come close to its predecessor. And why? Why didn't it come close to its predecessor? Because you removed the franchise's main character. The character that everybody wanted to see, that made his dope ass debut in Civil War. Then you went on and had everything that you did with him in his own film. Then Infinity War. Then the comeback in Endgame. We were so ready to see more of the rich world of Wakanda. We were so ready to sit back in that fictional world with our popcorn and whatever the fuck else you might get at the concession stand and immerse yourself in the fictional world of Wakanda. We were ready to see the most technologically advanced nation go on. We were ready to see the struggles, not just between, and again, for those of you that don't read the Black Panther comics, it's not so much T'Challa's adventures outside of Wakanda that are interesting as it is so much what goes on within Wakanda in the comics that's interesting. It's the struggle between him and his people as king, as ruler. There's so much in-depthness that we wanted to see. The galactic empire that they have. Everything. There was a lot, but that was selfishly taken away. And it was and the film in the MCU suffered because of it. You know, I take you back to, what was that, Phase 4? I take you back to Phase 4. We were told that Wakanda Forever was going to be one of the most important films of Phase 4. I still don't know how. I've said this before on streams too. What did you learn about Wakanda in Forever? Because I didn't learn shit. The only thing I learned about Forever, or Wakanda and Forever, was that they are easily manipulated. They can easily be infiltrated. Namor strolled in there 2, 3, 4 times, kidnapped the princess, killed the Queen Mother, threatened everybody, flooded the fucking streets. The Queen Mother and Suri are, and yeah, maybe they wanted some time to themselves, but the Queen Mother and Suri are walking around with no guards. Nobody's protecting the Queen Mother and the princess after the loss of the king. Nobody's protecting them. They just out all by themselves, and then here comes Namor. Then he comes in, does damage to the most technologically advanced nation in the world. And I'm not saying Namor shouldn't have been formidable, because he should have been, because that's who the character is. But Wakanda should have also been fucking Wakanda. And they weren't. They weren't. We watched Wakanda get their asses beat, in Dr. Umar's words. You know how he worded it. We saw what happened to Wakanda. No, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. So it should have been from the very beginning. You put the character in you put the franchise's main character in his own stories. It should have been that from the very beginning. So if they do reboot, and My Time to Shine Hello is correct, and we do get a new T'Challa, and it's not going to be Toussaint stories carrying on, T'Challa's stories, then hopefully they can get somebody outside of Coogler in there. And I'm telling you, if that animation shit is still happening, I don't see that happening. But they got to get Coogler out. Coogler's got to go. Chapek is already gone, and that was a lot of the bullshit too. Alonzo being gone, that was a lot of the bullshit too. But maybe they've sat down and we're making some course corrections, because we've already seen some things being said. We've already seen some things being changed and turned around. So hopefully it's one of those prayer things that maybe we can get T'Challa back on the screen. Let me see. Also, there's also the deep fake pictures that had come out a while back when we were kind of talking about the Wakanda Forever stuff. I think this was leading up to Wakanda Forever. The deep fake photos that came out of John David Washington as T'Challa. I don't know if everyone has seen those. I believe I have it on here. I can show you really quick. Let me see. Actually, I have it here. Because there were a lot of, even when Black Adam came out, and we, after seeing Aldous Hodge's performance as Hawkman, everybody said, man, he could easily play T'Challa. And I agreed. I agreed then. Here it is. Here's the deep fake of it. You know, so it's never a thing of like, it should have never been a thing of, can we not, or who you're going to get to play him. There was plenty of options that you could have had to play him. There are plenty of people outside of John David Washington either. I'm just using this example because I thought that deepfake was pretty fucking accurate. But there are plenty of examples outside of John David Washington that could be used to portray T'Challa. You know, you got Trevon Rhodes, you've got Damson Idris, you've got Aldous Hodges, many names out there that could be put in that hat to portray T'Challa. That, you know, you don't, again, that's not killing the king and not taking him off of his throne, not doing some weird morbid shit or anything like that, to bring in, to usher in the new person playing the character. I also said this too when thinking about the animated series. I think also too, if they wanted to recast and do a reboot for him, I'm also talking about the reboot that they're trying to do for the soft reboot. Let's say they do the soft reboot and they still do the animation series regardless. I still think, okay, so I think if you do the animation series and it's going to be a part of the new reboot, Coogler and everybody else need to fucking go. They still need to go. Again, I love fucking Denai as Okoye. I love Winston Duke as M'Baku and things like that, but they gotta go. So if you do the animation and it leads over into what's going on in the reboot, that's the animation is the perfect time to recast T'Challa, to do the recast within the animated series. Why? Because you could have whoever's going to play him in live action could also voice the animated character. So that way, once you finally get him in live action, you've already heard his voice. You could also model the animated T'Challa off of the actor, whoever the actor is going to be, and then have that voice. You've already heard the voice. You've seen the face. So once you transition over to live action, it's flawless. It just goes in and boom, there he is. There's another way you could do it. Again, I think the easiest way that they could do though is just say that the T'Challa they buried was a scroll, and nobody knew. Like I said, something good could come from Secret Invasion because it was shit. So something good could come from it, and it could be that due to Secret Invasion, the events of Secret Invasion, T'Challa was a scroll. It wasn't really him. And like we know from within Secret Invasion, Wakanda wasn't even affected like that. There's a lot of different things they could do. But let me read some of these now. Some of these comments. There are quite a few. Oh, it's only okay. It's only letting me go up to the Will Smith stuff. Let's see. Soto said, I'm with you all the way. My issue is we got all these black people in Hollywood who have been exposed to the industry. At some point, you gotta do you and leave Hollywood. And that too. It's one of those. It's one of those things where, again, it's that black empowerment conversation. If black folks were to realize that together we are stronger, things this and that, blah blah blah, and then get together or make your, like Tyler Perry tried to do with Tyler Perry Studios. I don't want to say tried to do, what he successfully did. Tyler Perry Studios was successful regardless of what people think of Tyler Perry today. Tyler Perry, we were all tuned into the Medea plays. Don't pretend like you weren't. We were all tuned into the Medea plays. We were all tuned into some of those films until it got a bit corny and things like that into Hollywood. But like, when you have a Tyler Perry Studios, a vision like that is ran by black folks, funded by black folks, empowered by black folks, telling black stories. That's where that could come in, where you could get black stories told in those ways. I'm not saying that it could. Like I said, don't ever let anybody tell you that the black dollar is not the most powerful dollar, because it is. The black dollar is the most powerful dollar. Let's see. We've got Tyrone that said, whatever happened to Will Smith's Deadshot movie? He stole the show in the studio in Suicide Squad and got replaced with Bloodshot copying off Deadshot's character's arc. Honestly, I don't know what happened to there were a lot of weird things going on with Warner Brothers and DC and a lot of the characters and movies and things that they were going to do. So who knows? They were axing a lot of things over there. Let's see. Officially MG. Oh, he said he had that news for people. Soto said Michael Jai White, Tyler Perry, and the Black Cap AIM shouldn't be the only well-known movie studios. Oh, yeah. Joshua Allen said Bass Reeves on Peacock. Okay, it's on Peacock, not Hulu. Let's see. Johnny Stevens said, bad movie to pick. That film isn't really a struggle film, but I get it. I don't remember what film I said. I named a lot of different films. Not sure which one. Nathan said, well, I don't know that name, said it became a Broadway musical. It had success there, so now a movie musical. Stamina said, nor a dang thing. Oh, we're talking about Tyrone. Let's see. Andre said, it's not hard to understand. We want the character of T'Challa to continue. The way to do that is to recast T'Challa, not through a son. Correct. Everybody agrees with that for sure. Let's see. No, D-Sizzle, Asher is not here. Let's see. A lot of people saying we don't want a hand-me-down. Blue Marvel over Wonder Man came from Don Juan. Let's see. We got Jay that said, it's just crazy how ever since Chadwick passed, it's like Hollywood is so hesitant to recast characters now. It's to the point where it's affecting Star Wars because people really are really debating on if they should recast Balin. Like, really, why is that even a debate? The character didn't die, so should his story. So why should his story end? And yeah, that's what I was saying there at the beginning too, and I completely agree with you. No, the character of Balin should not end. And it's the same way I think about the character of T'Challa or any of these fictional characters. These characters should not end because the actor playing them have passed on or something like that, or been removed or whatever. The characters does not need to stop. There's too many unanswered questions with, again, what I thought to be the most fascinating character, a part of the Ahsoka series, that we need to know. Who is calling to him? There are the theories of Abeloth. There are the theories of it could be something different than Abeloth. There are even unlike, I don't want it to be this, but the theories of it being Palpatine, because all this still has to tie into 7, 8, and 9. So there's a lot of different, and actually, there's the new theories right now going on with the Filoniverse and the things like that. Originally in George's 7, 8, and 9, it involved the Mortis gods and things like that. So people are thinking, could Dave be picking up some of those pieces to that lost storyline, and that be leading and tying into or he tie that into the now 7, 8, and 9 and things like that. There's a lot of stuff going on with that, but yeah, again, with Balin, it should be one of those things where he continues, because there's too many unanswered questions with that character and stories, and we want to know where that's going. Let's see. Stamina said they would be pushed back because the transcended all other portrayals line doesn't fly. There's immediate comparison possible. Yeah, that's true too. We got Raptor that said same for Wolverine. If Lord forbid anything happened to Hugh Jackman, yeah, same thing. Cornelius said yes, they're gonna have to fix that narrative. Then we've got Miles that said, imagine playing the Arkham games without Batman. I mean, yeah, it's all of those things, guys. It's all of those things. Imagine doing any of that shit without the main fucking character. Like, I really don't know how that's hard to understand. I don't know why that's even a debate with people online. B. Smith said, that garbage in Wakanda Forever was just... we can look at what is happening on the continent now. That is the reason for not recasting, not because they cared so much about Chadwick Boseman. Yeah. Gray said, facts, keep it consistent. Let's see. Dorian said, I didn't like how weak Wakanda was in that movie. Yeah, none of us did. That was the way they made Wakanda in that movie was absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. That final battle, what? Not just the final battle, like all of it. It was like, what? Let's see. The Jinx said, Luke Cage is another great character right there we could use before Wonder Man. Yep, that's another one. It's another one. Gray said J. Edgar Hoover and Richard Nixon were scared of the same thing. Yep, I've talked about that the last time I talked about the being afraid of T'Challa, being afraid of black empowerment. J. Edgar Hoover, and I've said this before, but J. Edgar Hoover, said we must prevent the rise of a black messiah. In order to do that, we have to. He was talking about Dr. King. So they took out Dr. King. They took out his brother and said that his brother drowned. They took out his mother in the middle of church service because she produced strong black men. So how do you take them? How do you stop the production of strong black men? You stop it at the source. You take them out. It's very true. J. Edgar Hoover and Richard Nixon were scared of the same thing. They were scared of black empowerment. And it's the same themes today. I don't, as I said, Viola Davis is one of my favorite actresses, and what she did in How to Get Away with Murder was phenomenal as Annalise Keating. But one of my favorite quotes she said from that, about just the things going on and bringing up J. Edgar Hoover and bringing up Richard Nixon things from that time is racism. Racism is built in, this is Annalise Keating, Viola Davis, the one thing she said in front of the Supreme Court when she was arguing that case in the show. Racism is built into the DNA of America. And as long as we turn a blind eye to the pain of those suffering under the oppression, we will never escape the origins. And that is so true. And yeah, that's a TV show, but that's a powerful quote in my opinion, and because it's such a true statement. Racism is built into the DNA of this country. And as long as we continue as America, as people, as we're being told, let it go. It was 400 plus years ago. That wasn't I didn't do that. That was somebody else. Blah. No one. And see that's the thing about that argument too. And I'm not trying to turn it into this conversation, but that's the thing about that argument too. That's so annoying. Stop. Take a seat. Open your ears. Take down your privilege. Stop trying to think that we're trying to blame something on you. Because if you've been here and you've listened to me speak about these things on this channel, when the whole Benedict Cumberbatch conversation came out and people were wanting me to just scold Benedict Cumberbatch and say something about Benedict Cumberbatch and his people owning slaves. His people own slaves. Benedict Cumberbatch didn't own slaves, so I'm not going to then stone Benedict. Thank you for that, super. I'm not then going to stone Benedict Cumberbatch for the sins of his ancestors. So when we were having those conversations, and people say, "Well, that wasn't me. I don't owe you reparations. I didn't do this, or I didn't enslave you. Let it go." No, you didn't, but your forefathers did. So what we're saying is recognize the racism that is, again, built into the DNA of this country. Instead of trying to just simply dismiss it and telling us to forget it was so long ago, have the uncomfortable conversation, see where the plight of a community is coming from, and see that, yes, I know that a lot of y'all as white folks out there, you will never understand it. I've had these conversations with people that even have black children, white folks that have mixed kids that like to tell me, "Oh, well, my kid is black, so therefore I do understand." No, you don't understand. You understand that your child is black. You yourself are not black. So you yourself not being black will never understand what it is like to be black. You can sympathize with being black. You can hear our plight. You can see our plight, but you will never, ever, ever in your life understand what it is like to step into the shoes, to step into the skin of someone that is black and walk in America, to be followed in a store for simply shopping, to be stopped in your car for simply driving, to be harassed by Karens and Toms for simply jogging or walking your dog in a rich neighborhood, or popping the trunk of a car, or getting out of a nice car, or you must have stolen that, or something like. You will never understand those things, and then that's just a small amount of things that to say what it's like to be black in America, but those are things that you will never understand. So it's like, again, when we're talking about racism being built into the DNA of the country and things like that, it's it's a real conversation. Again, instead of just dismissing it, have that conversation. See where people are coming from. See where this community is coming from. See what we're saying when we say that, you know, we're not being seen, or we're not being represented, or this or this or that. It's not. Again, it's not 400 plus years. Let it go. It's not. It's not. As I said before, my grandmother is 72, and she can tell you about the civil rights movement. She can tell you about segregation because she went to an all-black school when it was segregated. Like, I mean, so it's not a long time ago. It ain't, oh, get over it, you know, forget it. It's always funny that we're told in our history to just forget it and let it go, and mow over, and we're not, you know, let it go. You don't need to be talking about that. That's it's bigger than that. It's different than that. Tyrone, let me see if I can pull up Discord on here so I can try to get you in, because I see you trying to call. It's going to my phone though. Let me see if I can get you on. Hold on, Tyrone. I don't know if we put Discord. We got a new computer. So I don't know if we put Discord on here yet, and I don't believe we have. Let me see. Hold on. But Maja2873 with the $2 super chat. Appreciate you for that. Said Damson Idris as King T'Challa / Black Panther. Yeah, that was another one that I was really on board for as well. Damson Idris being T'Challa. I was really on board for that one. For sure. Let's see. I'll go to some of the. I'm gonna go to the ones at the bottom here so I can address some of these things because a lot of that stuff at the very top. Tyrone, hold on. I'm still trying to figure out how I can get you on here too. But we'll start right here with Critical Mass said Ryan ignoring Angela's plea not to kill Queen Ramonda shows he has some deep seated thing for Black Death. And yeah, that's true too. You know, we talked about that when she read the script and she said, "What are you doing? You know, people are gonna hate this." You know, and I'm sure Angela even thought maybe killing Chadwick Boseman, or I'm sorry, killing T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa was a bad idea as well. I'm sure she also thought, you know, why are we killing the franchise's main character? This is, you know, all the things we've said it is. So yeah, she felt strongly about that shit as well. I am Tyrone. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure that shit out real quick. I think I can. Bear with me though. I think I can make something work on it. Johnny said I was never invested. Balin. God bless the dead, but he was a boring character to me. But Levi Schreiber would be a good recast. I have seen that people saying that Levi would be a good recast for that as well. Hold on, Dorian. You're calling again. I do want to get this in here. Let me just pull this in. 1 second, guys. 1 second, everybody. Downloading the Discord now to the account or to the computer. So if anybody wants to call in, I'm downloading Discord now so I can have it on this computer, and you guys can call in and get some things off your chest if you want. Say some things in regards to some things we've talked about today. Let's see. Okay, let me log in here. 1 second. Rescan. Why? All right, Tyrone, I have got the Discord here. I think if you call, I should be able to answer through here. I'll do that later. Got it. Let me see. Gray, you sent me something on Discord. Let me see what Grace sent here. The Art of Justice when we see ourselves. I'll have to check that one out. Okay. The Discord. Let me see if I can call you back, Gray. Or Tyrone. Let me see. How do you call back on this shit? What the fuck? Sorry. Oh, right there. Let me make sure I can hear you, Tyrone. Tyrone, can you hear me? 'Cause I don't think I can hear you. Hold on. I'm sorry, everyone. Trying to... All right, Tyrone, can you hear me? Damn, what the fuck? I see your circle going green, so your sound should be coming through here. I don't know why it's not. Hold on. Okay. I'm not let me try one more thing here. Try one more thing. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. Try it here. Of course they did. Let me just do this. Hold on. Oh shit. Sorry. I'm trying to log into my because it'd be better or faster for me to just do it through StreamYards. So I'm trying to do it there instead. Let me see. I'm trying to log into my StreamYards on this computer. 1 second. Hate the silence. I apologize. That's interesting. Okay. I've got to be able to log into StreamYards on here, on this computer, so that I don't have to pay, because I already pay for StreamYards. I don't want to have to redo that shit. I don't know why that shit's not already logged in here. So we might not be able to do the call-ins like I want to, because it's not letting me. Yeah, I'll have to have Henry look at that. I apologize. It's not letting me do what I wanted to do. And there's no way that I can plug my phone up to where you guys could hear it through there. But anyway, I'll keep reading these. Sorry about that, guys. Then I see Raymond said, yes, Darius, people don't know that the King family were being wiped out. Him, his brother, his mother, they were killed back to back. Yep. That's very true. B. Smith said, correct. J. Edgar Hoover did say that. And we see the act of preventing strong black empowerment right now. Yes, we do. Tyrone, I apologize, bro. I really wanted to get you on. Said, J. Edgar Hoover was a passing for white gay black men. Then we've got Dorian that said, how the hell is it that you know that the enemy can travel through water and somehow you still didn't secure the water border? Right. D. Stizzle said Gotham Knights focused on Dick, Barbara, Jason, got trashed by fans. Yep, that's very true. Granger Thrag said it's the psychosis of colonizers. You will hear the same "it wasn't me" in Israel, South Africa, and America from the descendants of colonizers. Yeah. Turin also said, "Drop the." I'm sorry, bro. I tried. I don't know. I gotta fix that or get that shit logged in on this computer. Gray says 400 years and counting. Right. Grenridge and Thrag said, it's stealing someone's TV, watching movies on it, pay-per-view, and telling the person you stole from, hey, that was a week ago, let's forget about it. Right. Let's see. D. Stizzle said, part of my fam got deep roots in Mississippi and Louisiana. Yeah, mine too as well. My dad's side of the family, Louisiana. My mother's side, the Native American side, Mississippi. B. Smith said, of course they want us to let go of what happened to us. I was born during the Civil Rights Movement. I remember the aftermath during the early 70s. I was also at the WTC on 9/11. Wow. Black politician said, Kugler needs to go. Let the Russos have a crack at it. They'll do him justice like they did Cap. They gave him more shine in Cap's film than he got in his own solo flick, and that's very true. You know, he got killed in his own solo flick. He got killed in Infinity War, and then he was in return killed again in his second solo film. So I don't know what the fascination is with the death of the king, but it is definitely something that Marvel loves to display. Kamoyo Kid said, New Orleans, we just started removing slave owners off buildings and street signs. Yeah, see what I'm talking about? That's what I mean. You know, and this is not just in New Orleans. We've seen that around in other places too that are just now getting rid of some of the slave names of buildings and Confederate names and whatever, all that stuff. But not just that. You've also seen what's going on in the educational program right now, and wanting to get rid of certain the accurate teachings of history. You know, getting rid of, I saw a reel today that there was a congressman talking to another congressman asking him, are you aware that this bill gets rid of any mention of Susan B. Anthony, gets rid of any mention of Martin Luther King, gets rid of any mention of some of the other, Frederick Douglass and some of the other names he was naming, and every name he named was a person that helped progress history for the community, their people. And it's like it's happening everywhere. They want you to be desensitized and be dumb to the realities of what history was. They want to tell you that, I believe somebody, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they say that black folks chose to be slaves because is that the way they're teaching it? Black folks chose to be slaves because they wanted to learn, or whatever type of weird twisted ass whitewashed history they're trying to make it to be. Again, like I said, nobody is sitting saying that, trying to stone you for the sins of your forefathers, but I am going to stone you for the sins of your forefathers when you refuse to acknowledge the sins of your forefathers. No one's placing that shit on you. I'm not saying that you're responsible for some shit that happened 400 plus years ago. I'm just saying, take ownership. I'm just saying, look, see the plight. We've got Dorian said, you might be able to drop a link to the stream in that chat. It just and just choose who you bring up. I know that's how another YouTube channel does it. I couldn't hear Dorian when we were even on. Or not Dorian, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear Tyrone, rather. And I don't know why. No, I'm not sure why. Alright. Let's see. Cornelia said, are we still doing the Loki live? Yes, we are. I really want to go back to the way we used to do the reactions, because those lives, I hate when other YouTube channels do lives like that. Those are boring. To me, those work if you've got people, like if you've got a mass following, those work. Yeah, we do have followers of people that are there during those streams, but it's like scarce throughout the time, because I don't blame you. It's us, watching Loki. You're watching us watch Loki, and yeah, we're commentating every now and then, but the other reactions to me are so much better, the ones that are pre-recorded and then edited and then put out. But yeah, we are doing Loki. Yeah, I couldn't hear you. I don't know, bro. I'll have to have well, Henry's home. Hold on, let me see if I can have him connect real quick. I'm texting him. I'm asking if he can connect real quick to set up some of these calls. See if people can call in. Let's see. Cornelius also said, sign the Russos exclusively to the BP franchise, then they can do Wolverine like they've been advocating for. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. Spoiler King said, but when these people covering up for their daddies from 200 years ago makes them look really sus. Yeah, it is. It does. When you refuse to acknowledge it, and that's the thing. It's first of all acknowledging it. It's acknowledging that it happened. It's acknowledging that no, we're not butthurt. It's not that we are butthurt from what happened. It's we know what happened. What we are wanting is for you to acknowledge what happened, for you to not just acknowledge what happened, but the course correction was never there. The fix was never there. Some people, and I've said this before on the channel, some people will tell you they stepped out of slavery into Jim Crow, and that was much worse. Instead of being beat as someone's property, you were being beat as a free individual. You were being hung and drug out of bed in the middle of the night as a free individual. You were being the KKK was showing up to your home with burning crosses and all that shit as a free individual. You couldn't shop at certain places as a free individual. There were red line districts that were set up and designed and still placed today. Those could even be used as my descendants and what we could have been had you not set us up in these certain districts, had the whole introducing certain drugs to the black community and trying to stifle the black community. All of those things. Yes, it does. It looks sus when you are covering up for the sins of those that came before you. We're not asking to be this. I saw a video the other day of Dr. King. An interviewer asked him, and said, damn, how'd he word it? He told him like the Jewish community and all these other communities that have been hit with struggle, for lack of better words, within their communities and things like that. they seem to be able to get up out of that struggle, but why can't the Negro and like Dr. King, eloquent as he was, put him in his place and said, none of those motherfuckers, no, he didn't say that, but none of the people was ever slaves on American soil. Our people were slaves here. We were brought here, sold here, slaves here, raped here, killed here, sold, all of those things, So none of those people were, and I'm not saying, and that's not saying, well, whose struggle story is better, which community struggle story is, worse. Obviously, the Holocaust was a fucking atrocity. No one's saying it wasn't. With the killing and removal and rapings of the Native American people, that it was awful. All the other many things that have been committed, it was awful. But our people were the people that were brought here, sold here, slaves here. And then even once we were told we were free, we were still being beaten down by your system. Even in today, in 2023, we are still being beaten down, our community, by your system. And I know there are a lot of people that don't understand that. There are a lot of people that probably refuse to see that, or there are a lot of people that are probably like, oh, again, get over it. I was watching an older episode of What Would You Do? And it was an episode of this white individual, an actor, wearing a Confederate flag, and just what that would do. What would you do if you saw someone attacking someone for what they were wearing and things like that, blah 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 blah. And in that video there was a black man arguing with the dude that was wearing the Confederate flag on his jacket, and one of the white dudes, it was an experiment. They did it down south and they did it up north. Down south, as you can imagine, was a lot worse. The white folks in there were telling him, oh, let it go, get over it, he can wear what he wants to wear. That was a long time ago. He's wearing the flag of his ancestors. Why are you, all that shit. But whenever we want to talk about our ancestors or where we come from, or what that we were more than slaves or things like that, we're always told, let it go. That's not the story we're going to tell in education. We're going to twist it and say that you guys wanted to be slaves because that sounds so much better than we came and kidnapped you, raped you, and pillaged you and colonized you and turned you into slaves on American soil. That sounds so much better. But if we say in education, we say to the upcoming generation, all these kids, that you guys wanted to be slaves, well, then that changes the narrative completely. It's sick. It's a sick thing. And again, this country, instead of going forward every day, it seems like we're going backward with some of the things that are going on in the news and just whatnot. But again, as I've said many times too, it's often interesting to me whenever we are told to shut up or let it go, or it was a long time ago or whatever. But in the same breath, we are also told, well, maybe not so much told, but we see that, they want to be like us so bad in so many ways. Our vernacular, our style, our sense of music, the way we dance, or the way, like I said, our vernacular, the way we speak, the way we dress. Those are all things, even, the wanting to darken your skin, wanting to make your lips bigger, the attributes that we get made fun of, or things that, get pointed out about us or whatever, or are beautiful attributes, by the way, or things that are all wanted. But again, we are also told to, shut up, your stuff's not, your history's not important. But then again, you want to model some of the things that you love off of our culture, even in sports. I've said this before, when LeBron and the other NBA players and NFL players and athletes were speaking up during 2020, they were told by several different news media outlets that they need to shut up and dribble. stick to what you know, stick to the NBA, and that's the thing. I know a lot of folks, especially down here in Oklahoma with OU, I said this in 2020 on my Facebook page, and it ruffled a lot of feathers. But I'm always going to speak what I have to say. These athletes, even though I know, this is what I said to the folks here in OU, I know that you only see them in that white and that crimson on Saturday mornings or Saturday evenings or nights or whatever, when they are running and making touchdowns and everything for you. Then that's acceptable. You see them and you accept them then. But I remember in 2020 when they were taking off their jerseys and marching, and it was, oh, this is disgusting, and why is this and that. I know that you only like to see them as athletes, and you only like to see them as property, and you only like to see them as like, oh, well, as long as he's running touchdowns or he's scoring the buzzer beater shot or whatever, then you're fine. Then you're in your lane. But the minute you step outside of your lane and you begin to speak on your community's issues, or you begin to speak up against the narrative, well, then it's shut up and dribble, shut up and make your touchdowns, or whatever it may be. But again, like I said, we are always constantly looked at as just as the get over it. And as to me, as a community, I've said this before too, we are so forgiving as a community. I'm not saying we shouldn't be. We should definitely, you want to forgive folks, but we are so forgiving and quick to forget sometimes. Not forget, we don't forget within ourselves, but, quick to just dismiss it, be forgiving as a community and things like that. Again, sorry, just a whole different conversation, but it's all of those things. Let's see. Tyrone also said, congrats to Jonathan Majors for beating the case. We all knew that too. And sorry, Spoilers Kings. That was a response to Spoiler Kings. That was a long one. My apologies there on that. Carter Shear Triple Salute said, do you know about or heard of Dan Calloway? Dan Calloway, I have not. Brian Fisher said, what is the latest, if anything, that you've heard of T'Challa coming back to the big screen? Outside of what we were talking about earlier, what My Time to Shine Hello has said, as far as the character being rebooted or being recasted rather in the soft reboot of the universe. That's the only thing that we've heard so far. I said what I thought about that. Maybe not. Maybe Marvel does have their ear to the ground and they are actually thinking about really recasting. But then again, I still subscribe to the whole Tucson. I'm not subscribed to Tucson. I don't want that to be our T'Challa, but I'm subscribed to the idea that is the T'Challa that Marvel wants to push forward in the MCU. So I believe that is going to be the T'Challa that is moving forward for sure. Let's see. D. Stizzle said Uncle Ruckus is their favorite fictional black character. Official Liam G said it's also free Palestine. More black people need to realize that the Palestine struggle is intertwined with the Black American struggle, and that again, those are those broader conversations that's a very true statement though. I know a lot of people were saying, and I don't want to get too political on any of this stuff, but a lot of people were saying pray for Israel when Israel got bombed, but no one was it started, the prayers for Israel started coming out after Palestine and all that stuff, and it just so it's a true statement there as well. A lot of different communities, a lot of different cultures are all affected by many different things. We've got Tyrone that said, yet they give us that turn the other cheek, Jesus, then the Jesus who pulled out a switch on Camblin Hebrews. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, guys. But yeah, if you guys have anything else you want to say, you can go ahead and put that in the chat if you would like. I'm going to get ready for our stream here later, like really in about 2 hours, for Loki. So I'm going to start getting that together, and then I'll be back with you guys this evening for that. If you would like to come back for the Loki conversation, and when we watch that episode, what is this episode? Is this episode 3? Watch episode 3, and we'll be discussing it after. So if you would like to come back and join for that, you are more than welcome. If anybody, I'm not rushing off right now. If anybody has anything else they would like to say, please go for it. I'm, like I said, I'm in no rush to go anywhere right now. I can stay if you are wanting to have conversation. If not, then I've shown pretty much what I wanted to show today. So let's see. I'll let you guys, give you guys a minute here. Let's see what you guys want to say. Let's see. Jesus said, "You got a barrage of fire clips to make in this live." Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, gotta get some of these clips out there on Twitter. Yeah, Cornelia said excited about Majors tonight. Me too. I am too. I am excited to see how he brings Victor Timely, because I'm just in the what was it, the Quantumania post-credit scene. I loved it, and the stuff we've seen in the new trailers, I've loved it. So I'm really ready to see him as Timely. Stamina said we could always shuffle back over to Discord and have the group discussion over there. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Are you talking about for Loki? Because that's what I'm thinking we're gonna do. For the next reaction stuff. Let's see. Tyrone said, we want to get on call. What's your thoughts on Mutant Mayhem, Baxter Stockman? Honestly, haven't been paying too much attention to it, so I don't know. I don't have a thought on it. Outside of... I've recently just got back into... Like, never lost interest, but definitely, I don't even know if fatigue's the right word. I guess you could say fatigue, but it really wasn't fatigue. No, it wasn't fatigue. I didn't have superhero fatigue. I had fatigue of bullshit. It wasn't superhero fatigue. I was sick of dumb shit. So, and not just in the MCU, but some of the directions that some of the comics were going to, I was like, I'm not really interested in reading some of this. You know, I really checked out a while back after All New, All Different Marvel. It's when I really stopped picking up a lot of the comics. Now, there are certain things that I have read, you know, one-off things or things that I've wanted to read, but I haven't been as invested. Now, recently I have been revamped because there's just been some... I especially with Star Wars, I've gotten revamped for Star Wars because Ahsoka was so great, in my opinion. It definitely brought back some feels for me, but I haven't really been in the space of a lot of things, so I really don't have too much of a thought on it. Gray said, I'm glad you brought that clip of Chadwick out. I'd never seen it before. Yeah, I'm glad y'all got to see that. Like I said, I'd never really seen any other YouTubers or anybody sharing that on Twitter. So when it got sent to me, and the person that sent it to me, it was anonymously sent to me. I had asked who they were, and they didn't want to tell me. So, but the person that sent it to me emailed it to me a while back, and it was... it's a great clip. I love that clip. Let's see. Reggie Foster said, how do you think the rest of Loki will end? Thoughts on Kang? I really do think Loki is going to be somewhat akin to what the Molecule Man... I'm not saying that he's like you know... I don't even know if I want to say he's even going to be somewhat akin to what the Molecule Man was in Secret Wars, but I think that he is definitely going to be one of the heralding voices before Secret Wars to warning everyone, one of the characters with the most knowledge about Kang moving forward to, give other characters a synopsis of like, okay, this is who this character is, he's this, he's that, he's done this, he's done that, he's been here, he's been there, etc., etc. I think it's going to end with something cracking open into maybe leading into Kang Dynasty, maybe, or maybe even Secret Wars. I forgot, it's been a while since I read those leaks too, and I know a lot of people don't like the leaks, so I won't say what I do know, but and it's not one of those streams, so I won't say what I do know in it. But the finale though is still a mystery to me. It's not that the finale is not something I know what's going on in, so I'm not sure. B. Smith said, did the court dismiss the charges against Jonathan Majors? I haven't seen or heard of anything about it since they pushed the date again. Let's see. I'm not sure. Stamina answered and said, nothing is circulating online as of yet that I can see. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything either, but whatever you guys do see, if you see anything while we're streaming, please keep us updated in the chat. D-Sizzle said agreed on Ahsoka. Ahsoka was great. I loved it. Cornelia said apparently Timely is a little weird. I kind of got that. Me, Corey, and Q the last time, I think it was last Thursday when we were watching Loki. We watched the end credit scene from Quantumania, and we were talking about that part afterward when the way I could see him being weird. It's just the way he held his mouth, the way he said that shit. Me and Q laugh at stupid shit anyway. So me and Q were just laughing at that shit. That shit was funny. Let's see. Johnny Washington said, when Cap told T'Challa to go back to Africa in the comics is when Darius was done. Yeah, bro, I didn't even read that comic. I didn't read it. I saw the panel on Twitter, and I was like, and that's why I'm not reading this shit. No, I don't care. Like, nah, I'll go back and read. If I want to read some shit, I'll go back and read some old shit and be content with reading old shit. I'm good. Cornelia said Major's next hearing is Wednesday the 25th. Yeah, he loves the way he stands there. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Raymond said that's right. Tanakh was accused of rape. Oh yeah, let's reboot it. Yeah, that too. I'm not accusing anyone. I remember I came out and said this when Ms. Marvel, the actor that plays her father, that stuff came out on Twitter about him and that little girl. I never said, until it comes out, blah blah blah, innocent or proven guilty, all these things. That was swept under the rug. I didn't hear shit about that, and that the little girl posted those pictures. Go back and watch that video that we did. It's a clipped video on the YouTube. It's got his picture on it and everything, and I believe in that video I pulled up like the article, I pulled up the screenshots of the pictures from her phone and all that, or not the pictures, the screenshots of the conversation from her phone and everything, and that shit got swept under the rug too. I haven't heard anything about that. B. Smith said, you guys cracked up at Victor Timely, and I think the character should be a bit weird. Yeah, no, I'm here for it. I'm ready to see what he's gonna do, for sure. I hope he got a lot more direction. I know he got a lot more direction with Victor Timely than he did with Immortus, Centurion, and Ramatut, because those three, the way he portrayed those three, I didn't like that. I hope that they give him, I hope he sat down and taken better direction on where to go with that. Dorian said, if they reboot, do you think that they should start with X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and Hulk? For sure the X-Men, and for sure, yeah. Because you have the rights to all these characters, except for Spider-Man. You have the rights to all these characters again. I say you go heavy with them. You hit home, especially with the X-Men. You bring in Fantastic Four. You utilize Spider-Man as much as Sony will allow you to. And now that you've gotten the rights to the Hulk again, we're hearing the rumors of the solo film coming soon or something like that. Yeah, I think that you do hit home with all, or hit hard with all of those characters. Tyrone said, "How will the Mole Man and Mole Man fit into the MCU if the Fantastic Four are fish out of water time travelers from the '60s, copying Cap's main Man Out of Time story arc? How will Doctor Doom work for these movies if he's not being active in Latveria in these movies?" And these are all questions that so many of us have with the Fantastic Four. What is the Fantastic Four in the MCU? I know there's that whole Fantastic Four curse that I never really believed in until all the complications with the Fantastic Four in the MCU. I'm like, maybe Fantastic Four, the first family, is really, really cursed in cinema, because I don't know. I don't know. There were so many different plot leaks out there that had changed so many different times with what they were doing with the Fantastic Four. The one thing that remained was that they were going to be displaced out of time and come into the current timeline or something like that. But great questions. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the Mole Man or any of that would work. Raymond said, "But let's talk reboot. Here's the plan. Film 1, Claw is the villain. Film 2, Killmonger. Film 3, yeah. Yeah. I would cameo Doom in 4 with Namor, though, or maybe not cameo Doom, but hint at Doom, or post credit Doom, or something in 4 with Namor. I do agree, though. I like the list that you've got. It could work. And yeah, I agree with what you said there last. Stop killing the villains. Stop killing the villains. All of the villains seem to not make it out of these films and never have a future within the MCU. Let's see. Chi-Town said, was there any actual comments made by any of the higher ups at Marvel about the canceling of some of these Disney Plus content? From Marvel themselves, no. We've just heard it from insiders and things like that, but Marvel themselves have not come out and said anything. Tyrone said Sony should just give up the Spider-Man rights because all of the spin-offs, they are going to flop without following up with Tobey or Andrew Spider-Man's worlds. Yeah, I've said I wish Sony would give Spider-Man. They're never going to do that. And I was Sony too. I wouldn't do that shit either. And like, you know how much, from a business speaking standpoint, if I'm Sony, you're paying me every single time you want to use Spider-Man or any of the other characters that we own. They wanted Kraven to originally be the main villain in No Way Home, but Sony blocked it because they had other plans for Kraven. So if I'm Sony too, you paying me. But I agree. I would love for Spider-Man to be back with Marvel. Let's see. Chi-Town said, "Do y'all think Kang pulls a Thanos and wipes out majority of the MCU, allowing a clean slate recast for a lot of characters?" A lot of people, from what we've heard, are going to die. A lot of people are going to die in Kang Dynasty. I don't think it's going to be an in-game thing where they're going to come back. I think it's going to be they're dead, and then a lot of people are also going to die in Secret Wars too, and then it'll be moved on from there. Raymond said that's a villain. Doom cameos with the Namor film. Namor dies in the end, and Namor takes him to Latveria, where he is revived by Madame Slay, who's working with Doom. Oh, okay. I could see it. Let's see. D Sizzle said, Fantastic Four been victims of incompetent creative teams since the 90s. Yeah, I'm telling you, I believe in the curse. I believe in it. Recurring heroes need recurring villains. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Tyrone said, yes, where's the Masters of Evil? Also, they turn the villains into good guys. They always do that too. The villains always get turned into good guys or have some redeeming quality to them. You know, some people are just fucking evil because they're fucking evil. That's really what it is. Let's see. Dorian said, hopefully in a reboot we can get it to when the villain is defeated and not killed so that we can have more good villains in the franchise. Yeah. Raymond said, Death and Kang Dynasty. Will I care about any? That's true too. We've talked about that. Any of these current heroes dying? Spidey, yeah. Thor, probably. Strange, I might feel something. Everybody else, y'all be good now. Yeah, and that's true too. You know, me and Q have talked about that. Like, does anybody really care if like this current team of Avengers was supposed, or you know, if they get wiped out in Kang Dynasty? I don't. You know, I'm not attached to any of the current heroes that we've been on this journey with since WandaVision and Loki. Yeah, I'm not attached to any of them, so I could care less. Actually, I applaud that scene. Let's bring Kang in to crush the current heroes that you know you guys brought in. Tyrone said they got a whole Guardians team, the Star Jammers and Corsair. Yeah. But yeah. All right, everybody. I am going to start getting the thumbnail and everything together for the stream tonight. And then I am going to be back with you guys tonight. Got to get some other stuff together, and then I will be back for Loki Part 2 or Part 3, Season 2, Part 3, Episode 3 rather. So if you guys are interested and you want to come back and watch Loki with us, please do so. It's going to be 8 p.m. 7:30. It'll either be 7:30 or 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll be back. So if you guys are interested and you want to come back and watch that with us, please do so. Again, appreciate all of the super chats, appreciate all the engagement, appreciate all you guys being here with me this evening, and if we're and everything like that. Actually, Q just texts me. His dog just broke his dew claw, so he said he'll let me know what's going on with him tonight for sure. And if we end up not doing it live, then it will be up as a regular video, regular edited video. Like I said, I think those are just so much better. But again, appreciate all you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Appreciate everybody. Thank you guys all for the kind words, and I will see you guys all later. Thank you, really, I really do mean it. Thank you guys for tonight, or this evening rather, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your time. See you guys later this evening, possibly. If not, be looking for the Loki video to be uploaded as a regular edited video. Peace out. Talk to you guys soon. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Recast T'Challa, and I will see you in the next video. See ya. Peace out.